again, everyone. Welcome back to the Fandom Zone podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the Fandom Zone once again, playing a little under the weather today. I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Jesse Jackson, to talk some Watchmen. So, hi, Jesse. How are you today?
I am good. I am sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I see you have some nice hot tea.
Yes.
Sipping.
I have my cup of damn good tea and hot.
Yes. Which is, I knew something was wrong because pulling back the curtain, Charles never drinks a hot beverage. He always has a bottle of a cold beverage when we're podcasting. And so the moment I saw him, I'm like, okay, something's up. So
Right.
Thank you for working through it. I appreciate it. And
so I'm playing a little on the DL this week. So
yes, but
so
fighting through it.
So I'm fighting through it. So everybody, please bear with me.
He rubbed a little dirt on it, and he's getting there to work.
Yeah, I took a lap, walked it off, and we're here. So here at episode 169, Jesse and I are going to talk Little Fear of Lightning, and this was a very cool episode. The 5th episode of Watchmen Season 1 just aired a little while ago on November 17th, 2019. And written, of course, by David Lindelof, showrunner, and Carly Ray was his co-writer this time. Directed by Steph Green.
Mm-hmm.
And our guest cast, before I get into that, I want to get your thoughts in general about this really important episode.
This was, if you were worried that Watchmen was not going to deliver on a story, which I wasn't, because I believed in all the interviews, Lindelof has said this is going to be a self-contained story. We are not assuming we are getting a second season,
right.
So we are telling a really good story. And I believed him, but if you had any doubts, I think this one should take it away because they answered a lot of questions. They moved the story forward a great deal. We learned a lot about the world. This was really, really good. Yeah,
it was. And obviously, we get some major connections to the comic book in this story.
Yes.
And a lot of the theories that we've thrown out here on the Phantom Zone have apparently come true as we get, especially considering a certain Senator Joe Keene.
Yes.
So, who we've had our eye on, obviously, for a while. And I'm definitely looking forward to talking about this one with you. So, guest cast this week, we only have one really new character of note, I think. Well, maybe a couple here. We had the debut of Paula Malcolmson as a character named Renee. Now, she's the character that Wade Tillman, a.k.a. Looking Glass, tries to take under his wing, only to have her turn out to be a member of the 7th Cavalry.
Yeah.
Awkward. She's a pretty notable actress. If you've seen her in a lot of different things. If you're a fan of the HBO series Deadwood, as I am, you've seen her as Trixie on that series. That's where probably a lot of people know her from.
I think you and I don't know if we've talked about this for the air, but I came to Deadwood very late to the game.
Right.
I had known that they were going to do this makeup movie, and so because of the Amazon Fire Stick and HBO On Demand, I was able to stream the episode, the seasons one after another.
Right.
And first off, absolutely, Deadwood is truly, I know you hate to rate things, but it is truly one of the great television series of all times. It is amazing television. And the other thing is, you watch the cast, you go, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I mean, the cast is truly later becomes a who's who of television. They had so many great people, and Paula Malcolmson was one of those. She spent a lot of time in the Ray Donovan playing Ray's wife.
Right.
So I know a lot of people know her from that. But absolutely, she was in Hunger Games. She was Katniss's mom. But yes, and Amanda Greystone in Caprica, but I agree, and she was amazing at Trixie in Deadwood.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about her before here on the Phantom Zone because she also played Sheris L, mother of Segel on Krypton. So if you were here for our Krypton discussion, and she was also in episodes of Fringe and Star Trek Enterprise and a lot of other cool things. Like Jesse said, she played Mrs. Everdeen in the Hunger Games movies. So very cool actress. She's been in a lot of neat things. You've probably seen her before, and if not, shame on you. You're obviously not watching the right stuff. So very cool. So very cool to see her here, and she's phenomenal here.
You're true. She is phenomenal, and carries it. Would have been I'll save it when we get to that storyline.
We'll get to
I'm so excited.
I know. Talk. All right. That's good. I'm digging the enthusiasm here. So really, just a couple of other actors of note. Philip Labes, who played young Wade Tillman. Mm-hmm. He's been in episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Glow, if you're familiar with that show, and Into the Dark. And then Eileen Gruba played Cynthia Tillman, or, Wade's ex. And she's been in episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, Bones, and Dexter. So I just thought I'd mention those two as well. Some trivia this time before we get started. This episode's title, taken from a passage from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, from the quote, "If there were no thunder, men would have little fear of lightning."
And isn't there a famous squid octopus in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes, there is. So yeah, that's if you're a fan of that show, Captain Nemo and the Nautilus taking on that. So, and
a very nice point. I do not know if people are aware, but the kind of an Alcoholic Anonymous is Friend of Bill's. Oh. And in fact, in Dragon Con, there is an official AA meeting in Dragon Con, and it is in the agenda, the list. Friend of Bill's, yes, Friend of Bill's. And it says, who? It was the founder of AA.
Okay,
I could Google it really quick.
Okay, you were talking about Friend of Bill's, and I was like, who are you talking about?
Yeah. No, that's Friend of Bill is Bill W. was the William Wilson founded the Alcoholics Anonymous.
Got it. Okay,
and so Friends of Bill is on the list of events in Dragon Con on every night. They're Friend of Bill. Okay. So there isn't actually an AA meeting, which I think is neat. And so if you notice, he says, "Are you a friend of Nemo?"
Yes. Oh, I see. I see the reference now. Yes.
Yes.
Meaning, Nemo referencing the squid and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, so also the title of this episode. So
yeah. So I didn't know if you had caught that little point, because if you didn't know AA was a friend of Bill, you may have missed that.
I did. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So all right. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So we have 4 topics this week. We're going to try and run through those pretty quickly. Topic number 1, I want to talk about young Wade and the squid. So let's start right off the bat, because we kind of get the flashback. We kind of get the origin of Looking Glass in this episode.
Yes, we do. Which is Mirror Guy.
Your Mirror Guy. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But because Lori just won't let that go. She loves winding him up about that. So we kind of flash back to November 2nd, 1985, Squid Day. So we see young Wade getting off a bus of presumably kind of like Watchtower type group, where they go around and they try to preach the word to people, sinners as they view. And so it's this tour group from Tulsa and stopping off in Hoboken, New Jersey. And it's like a Jehovah's Witness youth group, essentially, right?
Right.
And so they all spread out to try to spread the word. And we find out, it's like 1 minute to midnight on the Doomsday Clock. So if you read the comic, you kind of know the setting here. This is essentially like right before the end of issue 11 to kind of set the table. And Wade's walking nervously down the street. There's this street carnival going on, or street fair, and like a little mini amusement park. And so he passes by a group of knot tops, the gang that beat Hollis Mason to death.
Yes.
In the Watchmen comic, the original Night Owl, they beat him to death. So one of them is, they knock his flyers out of his hand, and he meets this girl named Roxy. And Roxy leads him into a street fun house, and some very interesting things develop. So what did you make of this scene?
So I'm going to bring this up when we talk Titans, because there is a similar scene in the latest episode of Titans.
Right.
Not really, but the same. Okay. Sometimes you have to be smart enough to know things are too good to believe in.
Right.
And that's the first thing I could think of is I'm going, dude, okay, what are you doing? This is now true. There could be this young woman who's trying to seduce him could have this thing about I like to seduce,
innocent Bible
men. Yes.
Yes.
But the idea is that sounds too good to be true. It often is. And she ends up stealing all his stuff.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, she flirts with him. It basically implies that she wants to have sex with him.
Yeah.
Tries to get him orally stimulated a little bit, and makes him aroused. She talks him into taking off his clothes.
Right.
And young Wade, being this really naive Bible thumper from back in the 80s, very trusting, and also probably very sexually repressed at the same time.
I get that feeling. Yes.
So, well, you're married, so that goes with the territory, right? So he's very vulnerable at this point, and she's manipulating him. He's very trusting. He's buying into this. He thinks that she's attracted to him. She asks him if he's a virgin. She knows that he is, probably. Yeah. And she uses the backdrop of the fact that, hey, it's 1 minute to midnight as far as the nuclear war might take place.
Right.
And so she's like, look, this is your last chance. Do you want to have sex before we all get blown to sky high? Or not. And so he goes right along with it. He takes his clothes off and then immediately flips on him, steals his clothes, runs right out of the fun house. So he's there completely naked and surrounded by this hall of mirrors. And it's a very powerful scene where he's obviously upset about what just happened. He feels betrayed. And his innocence violated, and he starts getting really angry at himself. Like he keeps calling himself stupid, and and he's looking directly at his reflection in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like he calls himself a dummy, and he's this pathetic and a sinner, and he's getting what he deserves. Then all of a sudden, there's an explosion nearby. And Wade clutches at his ears in pain, and all the mirrors shatter from the blast. And it's this very powerful moment where, like, there's all these pieces of mirror flying around him. How he didn't get cut to ribbons, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. But he wakes up, blood's dripping from his ears, and he makes his way outside and finds the street littered with corpses.
So, a lot to unpack there.
Right.
I recognized that we were in the past and that we were around the time of the comic.
Right.
But I did not realize that we were at that pivotal moment.
Yes.
And so, and it wasn't until the explosion happened,
Yes.
that in my mind went, oh,
that explosion. Yes.
Yes, that explosion.
Yes.
So I think that was, at least from my perspective, well done. Well done Watchmen series.
Right.
It isn't like it was, you should have been able to figure that out if you wanted to.
Right.
But I was just going along with the story. And I think this establishes, they do a great job of setting this up, the trauma that he experienced happening to him continues to haunt him currently to this day in every way in his life.
Yeah, it's such an amazingly powerful scene. Like the shot where they kind of pull back the camera all the way across the amusement park.
Yeah, and you see Frank Sinatra way, and you go. Yes.
Right. Yeah, and it's Wade is just he's standing there naked. He gets his clothes from Roxy's corpse.
Yes.
So he's able to get his clothes back at least, but he's standing there just screaming because he's like, what just happened? And he's crying out, and the camera draws all the way back across that amusement park. There's all these bodies everywhere. Wade is apparently like one of the few survivors, maybe the only one in this amusement park that survived this event. Mm-hmm. And they pull back and they draw across the city. Like they go all the way from New Jersey into Manhattan. Yes. And so they're in New York City, and the moment that a lot of comic book fans of the Watchmen series were waiting for finally happens, where we go to the Institute for Transdimensional Studies and see that giant alien squid half teleported in the wreckage. So we finally got the squid.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was your reaction to that big moment of finally seeing the squid on screen?
Now, you and I both are fans of the Watchmen movie.
Yes.
And I
enjoy the movie. I enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I was not overly concerned that they changed the ending enough. I think he made it.
I like the ending. I like Snyder's ending better, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but a lot of people didn't.
Yes. And that's fair.
And so seeing this payoff and seeing, because we had seen a little bit of that in the comic, but to see it, this massive squid and weighing it was iconic.
Yeah.
And then when they cut to the promo about come back to New York,
yes.
Yeah, and that's just amazing.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about adult Wade here in our next topic, but yeah, that was just an amazing sequence of events, and very powerful, and and you kind of get the importance, obviously, of mirrors in Wade's life.
Yes,
and it's because of this trauma also that this reflective material, which we'll talk about here in a second, becomes so important.
Yes,
to his identity and who he becomes as an adult. And obviously he's very traumatized by this one event.
And when in the comic there is a lot of mirror images too.
Yes.
In fact, I think there's one issue that is actually mirror, like the very first panel is a mirror to the last panel.
Right.
I forget which. I think maybe episode 6.
I think it's Fearful Symmetry, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is a known, iconic imagery and part of the show. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
And nice. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. Topic number 2. This is where we're going to talk about the adult Looking Glass.
Okay.
Now, so adult Wade, and then let's also throw in Renee, Senator Keene, and the 7th Cavalry in this segment, because this is pretty big. So this is kind of a big topic section here. So kind of picking up, you talked about where adult Wade is now part of this marketing focus group, presumably because of his ability to discern lies and who's telling the truth, because he's essentially like a human lie detector.
Yeah, and they don't explain why he can do that. They just establish in the scenes where
you kind of assume because of the event that somehow he's been kind of altered by that. Yeah.
And the scene where he's at the bar and talking to her, and he can tell that, nope, she's not a waitress. No, yep, she's a radiologist. He can tell when she's lying.
Right. Proving the fact
yeah,
that he can discern lies to Renee. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And so, yeah, we get a nice little cameo at the focus group, the first focus group we see him at, by Michael Imperioli, who played Christopher on HBO's The Sopranos, if you remember.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool to see him there. He's playing himself, saying, like, he came back for Italian food, and how, like, we like our squid now with lemon and a little marinara.
Yes, and I loved Wade's, and I don't think it was very smart to bring in the calamari.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. So Wade is, even though this marketing group says, like, oh yeah, we got all perfect 10s in the reviews, and Wade says they're lying.
Yeah,
and I thought it was interesting.
And I guess they've established that a lot of people have stayed away from New York because, like they talked about in that promo, Central Park is deserted.
Right.
So I guess not only because of all the millions of people who died in New York, but the city, it appears, has not been, not a lot of people have moved back to New York. It has a
negative connotation.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So even 34 years later, you think they would have kind of gotten, I mean, even, like, look how New York City rebounded after the events of 9/11 here on our earth, that, you kind of think they would kind of rebound a little faster, but apparently not. So, so we kind of get the impression that, Wade's cover story for his public identity is that he does this marketing research. And then obviously secretly, like Angela, fights crime as Looking Glass for the Tulsa Police Department.
Yeah, and we don't know, and I guess it only nerd like me,
right?
Like, do you get a check as a police officer? Do they pay you, or So then how do you work that out? Because obviously he gets paid to do this,
right?
So he. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he has so much money, that, he can afford to have stuff shipped overnight that are going to be the cost as much as the unit.
Right.
And wasn't that a little scary to see? I mean, it's already disturbing watching him having that baseball cap with the tinfoil.
Yeah.
It's not tinfoil, but it is.
It's called, what is it? Let's see what it's here. It's got a actual name for it. Let me try to think here.
Okay.
Let me see if I got refractine.
Yes.
Yeah. So essentially, we kind of really explore, get a lot of backstory on Wade's life, how he goes through his day. Like he has his ex-wife Cynthia, and he tries to get her to identify these pills for Angela, and then he goes home. He's watching gay porn of Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis. So it's kind of interesting that he has, even like someone who used to be a Jehovah's Witness as a kid has this little secret fetish going on.
So I took that as it was the
mass
American Hero Story.
Yeah. Well, no,
that was an episode.
That was gay porn. I don't think that was actually American Hero Story,
because you didn't see any nudity. You just saw the implications of the gay sex. So I you're probably right, but I thought of it as just the latest episode of the American Hero Story.
Well, the only reason I don't think it is because they didn't do any kind of build up with that, but it could be American Hero Story. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it looked a lot to me more like gay porn.
Okay.
Because it like the costume for this Hooded Justice versus the American Hero Story Hooded Justice looked a little different. Maybe it's just me. I could be wrong though.
I just didn't think he would, because he seems to be there is no shot that he is bisexual,
Right.
or thought. So that's why I didn't see it that way. But you could be right.
I mean, I'll take it. I'm willing to be completely wrong on this.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
regardless,
regardless,
very disturbing.
Yes.
Yes, there is very little love making about that scene.
Yeah. So we find out that there's an alarm that goes off, and so Wade rapidly runs out to his bomb shelter, and he locks himself in. And, because we find out that essentially that Wade has just become severely paranoid. And, he has what this group called Extra Dimensional Security that supposedly supplies him with protection to prevent him from any further psychic attacks.
Yeah, and you could see that he runs the drill and then times it to see how fast he can get there.
Yeah, and apparently the machine malfunctions, so he calls Extra Dimensional Security, and he says, that basically admits that he's done over 500 drills on the unit, and the guy on the other end, the operator, is just like, you should only be doing these no more than once every 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and Wade's on I will run drills at my leisure or whatever, something to that effect.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever I need.
Exactly. Yeah. So, he finally talks them into shipping out a new unit, and he's like, "Yeah, send me another roll of refectatine while you're at it."
Yeah.
So, then he goes back to his job as a focus group advisor, this time for a bunch of kids eating Smiley O's.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a nod probably to the Smiley button of Watchmen. Yeah. And then he goes to visit his ex-wife at Forever Pet. And she's now under the name Cynthia Bennett. So kind of like John McClane's ex-wife, she's taken her maiden name.
So your lovely bride, is she watching this with you?
She watched the scene. Now, I know what you're talking about, the scene where the dog gets incinerated. It's a clone dog. And my wife, Lori, was extremely upset over that scene. She was
too.
She was ready to just that's it, I'm not watching Watchmen anymore.
Yeah. And
I tried to go, look, okay, one, it was maybe a 10-second scene, and it's a clone dog. It's not an actual dog, but Lori understandably is just very upset, and I get that. I get if you were upset.
Oh, I do too, and I think it shows the
callousness
of this, that it is because,
and that was the point, I think, to show how callous they care about clones.
Oh yeah, because it is a real breathing, alive pet. Right. And the only thing wrong is it wasn't an exact duplicate. And so therefore, the same way you would recycle material.
Right. Yeah. Recycle paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. So it was a very disturbing scene. And also, once again, part of the beauty of this world is the way technology is very different. How some things are way more advanced than we are, but in other ways they're not.
Yes.
So very cool.
Yeah, it's just basically roads not taken. So certain roads that we should have taken weren't taken, and so on, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So he goes to his little ED, presumably Extra Dimensional Anxiety Support Group. And we find out that Wade is kind of a leader there. He's one of the mentor there.
Yeah.
And one guy's talking about his mom getting hit by the blast, and even though he wasn't born until 10 and a half years after November 2nd, he inherited her pain.
Yeah.
And then another few members talk about their fear of squids, and then Renee comes in, and Wade welcomes her. And talks about how the squid unites them against a common threat. So,
now, what did you feel?
Yeah.
Do you think that the guy was true? That could he actually? Do you think that kind of trauma is inherited.
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of because we're dealing with something, a psychic phenomenon.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't know. I mean, it could have been affected.
Yeah.
If Wade was genetically affected so that he becomes a human lie detector,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to discount it. It seems unlikely, but
Yeah.
maybe that's something that's his issue that he has to work out. That maybe he's not that way, or he's just imagining it. We don't know.
And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is him, Wade, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You know, he is saying, look, I was where you are, and if you let me go through this, I can show you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is redemption. You can do this. Now, the reality is that's BS, because he's very damaged and not.
He's lying to them, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess you could make the argument that. I
mean, it's noble that he's trying to give them a better life.
Yeah. And maybe he's a functioning alcoholic.
Right.
Right. Since we're using that analogy, and that's their analogy to the shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's that's a weird place.
Yeah. I mean, and essentially, like, to continue that alcoholic metaphor, once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic no matter what.
Yes.
And it's up to you to control that.
Yes.
And so it doesn't destroy your life. And so maybe Wade feels he hasn't enough under control, even though objectively we're looking at him going, no, you don't have it under control.
No, nowhere close to being under control.
Right.
Yes.
But maybe he's fooled himself into thinking he does.
Yes, I do think he does. Yes.
Yeah. So he takes Renee out. They go to this bar like you're talking about. She gives him her squid story about her being obsessed by Steven Spielberg's 1992 movie Pale Horse, which is titled for the name of the band that was playing Madison Square Garden when the squid hit. Now, that's something actually from the comics. If you look at Dave Gibbons' artwork closely enough, you kind of see the Pale Horse T-shirt, concert goer T-shirts. So very clever of them to pick up that little minute Easter egg for fans. And she talks, and apparently, like this, she was really affected by this little girl who's walking under the tentacles and stuff. And she says she's seen the movie 1,000 times. And so she really kind of lays this on a little bit. And so he goes outside and essentially sees this head of lettuce fall out of this back of this truck, which makes him think that of the 7th Cavalry truck, that with the head of lettuce, that was because remember there was a head of lettuce left behind when they killed the black cop in the first episode. And so he follows these guys to like this abandoned department store, and they put on their 7th Cavalry Rorschach masks and go inside, including Renee.
Yeah.
So right away, he's feeling a little betrayed here.
Yeah, and they had a good discussion. Yes. I thought, first off, I want to watch Pale Horse.
Yes, I want to see that. Movie now.
I mean, I want some fans to make this fan film.
Right. Get on that, Spielberg.
Yeah. Because I think that was really, really interesting. And it appears to be that's what he did instead of Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Or maybe both.
Yeah.
Because there's that scene in Schindler's List where there's a little girl.
This would be roughly about the same time as Schindler's List, so maybe he did.
Yes.
Yeah. But
yes, and so in a lot of ways, and I thought it was an interesting scene with his wife, ex-wife, where she says, "I spent 7 years with you, trying to convince you I wasn't going to run away with your clothes and leave you naked," and he just says 7 years bad luck.
Right.
So he is very injured, or he is
messed up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of concerns.
So Wade goes in there, um, trying to, he takes his gun, he finds a gun in one of the trucks.
Yeah.
And he goes inside and essentially intending to arrest all these guys. And, like you start seeing like the basketball drop out of a portal out of nowhere, which immediately should tell you something's up.
Yeah.
And then they get the 7th Cavalry gets a hold of him. They drag him away to this room filled with TV screens. And Renee picks up Wade's discarded baseball cap, which of course is lined with refectitine. So essentially,
yes,
he's the tinfoil hat brigade.
Yes.
And she removes her mask, admits that, I'm really a radiologist. So that wasn't lying. So essentially, she told him that to kind of convince him that she was telling the truth, which would kind of lure him in more.
Yes.
And more basketballs drop. And another guy from the 7th Cavalry sits down and starts talking with Wade. And Wade immediately recognizes the voice.
Yes.
Senator Joseph Keene.
Why are you even trying? You're not even trying to,
So obviously, were you at all surprised by this revelation or not? Because we talked about that, wondering if remember when we talked about when the 7th Cavalry guy tried to blow up the funeral of Judd,
mm-hmm.
and Senator Keene stepping forward and posing the question, well, is maybe Joseph Keene working with the 7th Cavalry?
Yeah, in fact, we brought that up, right? We said that
wondering if that was genuine.
Because it looked a little too we've seen too much
staged.
Of this where the blood and everything, and that's what makes you a hero. So I really was not surprised at all. Now, what I was surprised, and I still don't know if I buy this totally, of the idea of Judd and the senator using this, as he calls them, they're idiots, and someone's got to control them.
Right.
So, is he...
So Keene essentially figures, well, okay, this is something I can use.
Right.
To further my agenda.
Yeah.
To essentially, to help my crusade so it looks good for my bid for presidency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so his campaign bid. Senator Keene reveals, Wade thinks that he's going to drop another squid on Tulsa by trying to create these portals. And Keene tells him, no, we're going to do something new.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, what are they up to?
Yeah.
And who, because presumably they've gotten this technology from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, who did they get this technology from? Although some suspects come immediately to mind.
Yeah, see, I'm actually thinking this could be the government, because we see that, and you wonder how many people know the story, the truth, about the biggest conspiracy of the modern world, in this timeline. And so is the government been working on things because they say that Adrian Veidt, right, when he's talking, he says you may have to do some minor things, and so you appear that if you connect the dots, that the government is the one that sends these small squid rains routinely just to keep people afraid.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of one of the big revelations that comes out here is that so we have Keene telling Wade that he wants him to take Angela off the board because she threatens the peace, and if he doesn't, Keene will send the local 7th Cavalry to kill Angela and her family.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's like, okay, get her off this case, or we're going to kill her and her kids.
Yes, absolutely.
And her husband.
Yeah.
So and then Keene plays this DVD that they showed him when he had joined the Appropriations Committee, gives him the choice, like you can either turn him in and convince his superiors, try and convince his superiors that he's crazy, or he can press play on the remote and be free.
Yeah, use kind of the red pill, blue pill.
Exactly. Exactly, from the Matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
My question is, how is it every member of the government? Is it every senator? Would you go to every congressman? How is this not leaked?
Yeah.
So
well, as we find out, when Wade does press the video, play on the video,
yeah,
it's Adrian on the video, and he's congratulating Robert Redford on becoming elected president. Now, he says that this was the message was 7 years in the past of Redford being elected in 1991. Adrian explains that he planned it. So essentially, just like he orchestrated the events with the squid, he set up the events of Robert Redford being elected.
Yes.
And he admits that he used a fear as a weapon, created the monster that unleashed on New York City. The event will go on to traumatize more than 1 million people. He realizes explains that this was all a big hoax to save the world. So essentially confirming a lot of the suspicions about it being a hoax.
Yeah.
And he says that the world will need time to heal afterwards, but while he maintains the fear with small extra dimensional events.
Mm-hmm.
So presumably he was responsible for all these little squids, these squid falls.
Yes.
But with where he is, we're not sure if someone's continuing his work.
Yeah.
Or not. And maybe Lady True, perhaps, is continuing this on his behalf. We don't know. But apparently, he did all he could to get Redford elected. In return, he needs Redford to become his partner into building a utopia.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is this huge bombshell. So Wade is just oh my God, it was all a big hoax. Everything, this whole event that traumatized me for the past 34 years was all staged by Adrian Veidt.
And, there's the scene, I guess we'll get to where he betrays Angela.
Yeah, we can talk.
I don't know if that's another category or not.
Yeah, it is, because I want to talk about Sister Knight and Laurie in our fourth topic.
So, but the end, Wade is going to throw away the new alarm system, right, and then ends up not being able to.
Yes. Yeah, he goes back. It's in the trash, and then he, at the end, goes back out to pick it up.
Yeah.
And brings it back in the house. And just after he does that, a truck full of 7th Cavalry guys pull up and get ready to storm his house. And that's where the episode cuts out.
Do you think they're going to kill him?
I think they're going to try.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to succeed. I kind of doubt they're going to succeed.
Do you have a feeling why they want to kill him?
Wade's going to be in his house. Presumably he has plenty of armament stashed.
I'm thinking, why do you think they want to kill him? After he's done what Senator, he's done what Keene wanted to do.
He's a loose end.
Okay.
Essentially kind of like why Adrian killed the comedian.
Okay.
In the original comics series, because he was a loose end, so they got Wade to do what they wanted him to do, take Angela off the board.
Okay.
And so now they don't need him anymore. So now he could give them up, and so they're going to kill him.
Okay.
Presumably.
Makes sense.
That's my my theory. All right, so let's move on. Move on. Topic number 3, Ozymandias and the Game Warden.
Yes.
So more big revelations coming from Ozymandias' storyline, the Adrian storyline, where we see him donning his protective suit and loading himself up in the trebuchet to shoot him up into the sky. And he finally passes through that barrier and comes out on a moon looking down on Jupiter.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought he might be on Earth's moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think he was on Mars, but he could have been on Mars. But instead, he's on this moon unidentified. I don't know if it's like Europa or Io or Ganymede or what.
I
But
think Lindelof said the name of the moon on some interview, so I'll look up that while we're talking. Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of curious.
Okay.
But it'd be cool if it was Europa because that plays a big part in 2010, A Space Odyssey. So, um, but anyway, but yeah, it's a very unexpected place. You see all these piles of corpses of the Phillips and Crookshanks that he shot through the barrier before, and he uses them to spell out the word "save me."
Yes.
For the satellite. There's like a satellite there that and then it's an actual satellite. I can't remember the name of it, but he it's basically broadcasting this.
Yeah.
So presumably someone will hopefully pick it up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he gets pulled back through the barrier, and because of the line attached to his suit, and the clones are there, and the game warden is there.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get to really meet the game warden a little bit, and he tells Adrian that he warned him not to defy the laws of the lands, and draws a sword, cuts off Adrian's helmet, and tells him that he's under arrest. And so what did you make of that scene?
So isn't he already under arrest?
Presumably, but now he's under double secret probation.
Yeah, I guess. And then I don't get why does he look like the Green Hornet? You know?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. So it sounds but
and it is Euphoria.
You mean Europa?
Yeah, Europa, yes.
Yeah.
So yes,
that's cool. That's cool. That's a very 2010 space or the year we made contact. That's the movie I was thinking of. So so the game warden admits to Adrian, tells him that God's abandoned him, and then the warden says God's indeed abandoned them and isn't likely to return. So apparently God, presumably Dr. Manhattan, created this prison for Adrian and created the game warden and all the other Phillips and Crookshanks. That's my guess anyway. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it appears to be Manhattan. They talk about God is dead, and and they even acknowledge it is, but they still got to do that. I'm not sure. We got answers, but we got more questions. Okay, he's being held there in some kind of force field bubble. Right. So it is, it looks like a paradise. He's got room to ride, and he's got a castle, and he's got servants, but there's not modern technology, so he's had to do all this.
Right. Make do with what he's got. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not sure. And I believe that's what's wonderful about this series and about this comic is the more answers you get, the more questions you have. And I don't know what this means of what, is this the same timeline? Is this...
we don't even know for sure when this is set.
Yeah, no, we don't.
But it could be something that's taking place in the past, and then Adrian will show up in the present.
Yes.
But for right now, we have to presume it's at the same time until we're told otherwise. All right. Let's move on. Topic number 4, and let's talk about Sister Night and Laurie.
All right.
And not my wife, Laurie. The Laurie. Laurie Blake.
Love Laurie Blake. Love Sister Night. These two they are so much fun. Watching them back and forth. I did not get to write down the dialogue, but I hope you did, where she's pushing Wade to get the results of the what those pills were. And
I don't have that one.
okay, so and Angela, and he said, well, push her. And he goes, when you're asking someone to do a favor, you shouldn't push them. And she's kind of, is that what you're telling me I'm doing, pushing? And he just doesn't answer right away. But yes, that's exactly what he was doing. And I thought that was greatness.
Yeah.
You know, she's still freaking worried about it.
Angela.
Yeah, Angela. We have a great scene, and I do have that dialogue between Lori and Wade about a certain plant that is on his desk. I have that dialogue.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, she doesn't. Lori thinks something's going on with Angela. Angela's trying to keep it hidden, and they've stuck Wade in the middle, and now then Senator Keene has them in the middle, and he ends up having to do, as he said, to keep her safe. He has to do this. And I really like that back and forth. And don't you just love Lori? Hey, mirror guy, you know quite well my name is Looking Glass.
Right.
You know, okay, mirror guy. You know, just
yes, you can have mirror guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty good. And yeah, she talks to him about bugging the cactus on his desk. Lori does. And that she was listening into his conversation with Angela. So essentially, Wade now knows there's a bug on his desk.
Yes.
And that's when he uses that later to incriminate Angela.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she comes over about the pills, and he gives her the pills and says that they're nostalgia, which is apparently this drug that can kind of bring back memories. And Looking Glass is wondering, like, okay, so whose memories are they? And Sister Night admits that those memories are her grandfather's. And so it's just like this big moment. And go ahead.
Well, the greatness of PDpedia,
yes,
actually has, and you know, you gotta love the how much love that everyone doing the show puts together, because the graphics department actually puts together a pamphlet that you would get at the doctor about nostalgia pills.
Right.
It gives you where to call to get them. It gives you who shouldn't take nostalgia, what you should, safety information. Right. I mean, it is, and it shows an older man, a woman, and
just like you get, like if you were getting what, you know, like any kind of other medication, or prescribed medication.
Like, you know, I'm a type 2 diabetic, and when I got, you know, when I was getting a wireless monitor for my blood sugar, or I got an insulin pump, you know, I got these cute little pamphlets that talk about it, that explain, and that's exactly what this looks like. And they also did the pamphlet that you saw Wade put out, the extradimensional anxiety, and
that was cool.
That, you know, he's got it, you know, feathered near the coffee for the meeting, and there's that pamphlet. So much cool stuff.
Yeah, they're really going out with the kind of like bonus material.
Yes.
On the PDpedia site, HBO's PDpedia site. Yeah. So definitely want to check that out. So essentially, after this truth comes out that, you know, where Angela admits, unaware that there's a bug on Wade's desk that she covered up, her grandfather claiming to kill Judd.
Yes.
Lori comes out with her gun drawn,
hands,
basically arrests her.
Mm-hmm.
And Wade tells Angela that he had to. Angela quickly swallows the pills, grabs them, and throws them down.
I don't understand that. I guess because she doesn't want it to be evidence.
Right.
But everyone knows, you know, this is not a good thing. And
no.
Because now
I'm sure that's going to affect her in the next episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, apparently you're only supposed to take like one of these, and she slammed the whole thing down.
Yeah. And you can't take, and the pamphlet says, Do not
Right.
take someone else's nostalgia, because then you're getting their memories.
Right, exactly. And I'm sure that was the reason, or she doesn't want anybody else to be able
Yeah.
to access those memories.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, so they cuff her, take her away, and it's this very awkward moment where Wade has essentially betrayed his friend,
Mm-hmm.
and he pulls down. There's this symbolism of him pulling his mask down at the end.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this. We didn't talk about this earlier, but he won't take his mask off,
Right.
And
Lori tells him to take his mask
and
off.
he noticed he always keeps it, and that is because
to protect
of his
head.
Right. Exactly.
It's reflectitine. The mask is made of reflectitine.
Yes.
So essentially, every time he's wearing out his looking glass, wearing his mask, he's protected from the psychic blast.
And
presumably.
in fact, his baseball cap is lined with it. And his ex-wife even says, "I see the cap's back." And he said, "I didn't have time to wash my hair," but she knew what that meant. Yeah,
exactly. And it's one of the reasons, because of that, his paranoia. I'm sure that's one of the reasons they split up.
Yes. By the way, going back quickly, also in Pedia, the American Hero Story memorandum does mention the scene with American Hero Story with Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis. So he does mention that.
It was American Hero Story.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I thought he just had a secret gay porn fetish.
Yeah. Well, that
maybe
might
does.
make for a more interesting episode. Yes.
It was. Yeah. Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Got any favorite quotes of the episode?
I do have a couple. All
right.
The first one is Laura Blake. What pills? And wait, because it was a perfect. And now then, once again, we're going to not give timely references, but Columbo was a mystery show in the past. And Peter Falk,
I picked up on that.
Great
I
Peter
picked
Falk,
up on that being old enough. Yeah. Just one more thing.
Yes,
sir.
that was
just one more thing. That was Columbus. Yeah. That was such a Columbo move. She did.
Yeah, and so he's leaving. She goes, "Oh, one other thing. What pills?" And Wade's like, "I'm sorry." And Laura, "Well, I bugged the cactus on your desk." And Angela Erbar, "Sorry, Sister Night was asking about some pills." And Wade, "You bugged my cactus?" "Oh, don't take it personally. I'm FBI. We bug. Shoot."
Yeah. Shit.
Yes. I just love that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a great line.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The only other one I had is where Renee saying the only time I'm not losing my mind is when I'm watching the film or effing. And and Wade was like, huh? And you could see the trauma because she was a very good actress. She was sending vibes that she's interested in him. But he's not going to pick that up. I also thought it was interesting. She was smoking, and that is a contraband substance just as much as marijuana.
That's something they established early on, is that tobacco is outlawed.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Which has had to be a big deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So my quotes.
Okay.
Wade with the marketing guys.
Mm-hmm.
Where Wade goes, "Sorry, gentlemen, but all your ad does is remind folks that 3 million people suffered a horrific, traumatizing, and inexplicable death." And the marketing guy goes, "That was 30 years ago. Everybody's over it. They've moved on." And Wade replies, "Well, sir, in my professional opinion, they ain't moving on to New York.
Yes.
I suspect the calamari didn't help."
Yeah. Right.
That was good.
It was very good.
And then a Looking Glass confronting Red Scare about the lettuce on his sandwich.
Yes.
So that was good. Looking Glass goes, "Is that lettuce on your sandwich?" And Red Scare says, "Yeah, so?" Looking Glass says, "Did you get it out of this?" And Red Scare says, "Oh shit, is that from truck?" And Looking Glass says, "If by truck you mean the one filled with lettuce driven by a cavalry member who shot a cop, yes, Red." And Red Scare says, "It was going to go bad."
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was really good. Yeah.
That was funny. And then Wade talking to his support group. Wade says, "I was where you are. I thought about that one-eyed effer all the time, and it terrified me. But I am no longer afraid. On November 2nd, the Soviet Union was on the verge of annihilating us, and we were more than prepared to return the favor. Then that enormous tentacled abomination teleported into New York. If it hadn't arrived when it did, we would all be ash. It united us against a common threat. Does it ever end? Of course it does. Because we are all in a tunnel, and every tunnel ends. It ends with light. And if you trust me, I will do my best to show you to it."
Yeah.
So that kind of shows you where he's coming from. He's trying to help them.
He is, but he's in bad shape.
He's so messed up.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stuff to deal with on his own.
I agree. Yeah.
But he's trying. And then lastly, Joe Keene, which I had to make this a quote because it's so good. Joe Keene says, "I'm going to show you something, and after you see it, you're going to walk out of here. And you're never going to be afraid of big teleporting aliens ever again. Because I'm going to set you free. In return, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Call it a squid pro quo."
Yes, I thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes.
Which is a very timely reference if you've been watching the news this past
Yes,
week.
it was very interesting. Yes.
So squid pro quos.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I loved it. I laughed at that.
I did.
All right.
Too.
So what's your rating?
I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 nostalgia pills.
Nice.
How about you?
I'm right there. We're in sync.
Yeah.
I give it 9 out of 10 giant alien squids.
Nice.
Because we finally saw the squid.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Very exciting. So very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Really strong episode. So I think this one and episode 3 are the two strongest so far.
Yeah, I mean the whole series has been really good. They are. I really just am impressed how well they have told the story. And you think about it, this is a 9-episode season. Right. And so we're a little bit halfway through, but they've told a lot of story and they gave a lot of answers in episode 5. So we've got 4 more to kind of finish up the story. A lot of questions left, but I am just really, really happy.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, these next 4 episodes should be quite the ride.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. Just have real quick Phantom Zone news. The upcoming DC Universe series Stargirl, which is going to be debut sometime in 2020, is apparently going to be airing each episode on the CW network the day after they premiere on DC Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And this means this will be the second DC Universe series to find a second home after Doom Patrol becoming available on the upcoming HBO Max streaming service. So it kind of sounds to me like DC Universe, they're kind of hedging their bets. And in addition to DC Universe, they're going to be also appearing on other places, which means that way they can kind of get people used to the idea so that presumably if they pull the plug on DC Universe, they'll still have a home for these shows. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, and I think this is I'm really glad that we're getting this
or they're trying to broaden the audience. So maybe they figure, well, if we air them on the CW, then people would want to, if they're really wanting to check out the show, they could go see them first on DC Universe. Or just, maybe they use that to count the ratings for each show. So they figure, well, if we air it more places, we can have bigger ratings.
Yes.
I don't know how that's going to work, but I guess it's up to their guys on how they want to show audience figures for this.
But I was glad. Right. By the way, Ken from Chicago tweeted to us, I had talked about last time about this is for Phantom Zone. Yeah, the Stumptown,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That was talking about how much I love Stumptown, and Ken from Chicago replied to us saying, Jesse nailed it. Ghost World, From Hell, Road to Perdition. There are plenty of comic books not about superheroes, some adapted to movies. And Stumptown totally has a 70s vibe, a la Rockford Files or Beretta. Don't do the crime, you can't do the time. Don't do it. So thank you,
Exactly.
Ken, for the little love about a non-superhero TV show that I'm really enjoying.
Well, look at The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead doesn't have superheroes.
Yes.
And it's a major comic book series, or it was until it ended recently.
Yes.
But so you don't have to have superheroes to have a great comic book show, and it seems like some of the networks are starting to kind of tip onto that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll see, but because we know that there's like, I'm a fan of the Image Comics series East of West, and that's in development.
Oh, good.
Greg Rucka's Lazarus is in development,
which is one of my favorite series.
Which would be a fantastic series if they do it right.
Sandman is coming.
Yeah, Sandman's coming.
We will be talking that.
Yes, yeah, we'll be talking Sandman when that comes out.
Yes.
That's a must.
Yes.
That's a must as far as I'm concerned. Just like Watchmen was a must.
Absolutely.
I think Sandman's a must as well. All right, so we don't have any fan mail again. Guys, we want to hear from you, so please drop us a line. phantomzonecast@gmail.com. You're dropping us a line on Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, so we're kind of spoiled here. We want to hear your feedback here as well.
Yes, we do.
So phantomzonecast@gmail.com or on Twitter @phantomzonecast. Facebook, the Phantom Zone Podcast, or on Instagram @Phantom Zone Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line. Just let us know what you think about Watchmen or what we're doing here. Hopefully you're enjoying our show, and we definitely appreciate you spreading the word, telling everybody, and also going to Apple Podcasts to rate and review us.
Absolutely.
If you're so inclined.
Yes.
We definitely appreciate that. Because
Yeah.
that helps people find us and grows our community.
Absolutely. It sure does.
All right, Jesse, where can they reach you?
So I can be found on Twitter @JesseJacksonDFW. You can find me my Facebook page, Jesse Jackson, Louisville, Texas. You can hear me talk Doctor Who with a certain Charles Skaggs. We talk at least once a month about Doctor Who, though there is new Who news, and there is a rumor that we may have a more crowded discussion schedule coming up pretty quick in 2020.
Oh yeah. We might have to drag Jesse back into the weekly.
Yes,
fold.
indeed. So Next Stop Everywhere, you can hear that. And then Titan Talk is the podcast where Charles and I talk about the DC Universe Titans. And after a slight dip in storytelling, they have gotten back up. So please check that for us. And then Set Listing Bruce is the podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and his fans. And I visit that once a week. And if you could, please go check that out. And we just did a little Next Stop Everywhere bonus episode because a guy and I were talking Doctor Who. So it was too good not to share it with our Next Stop Everywhere listeners. Charles, you do a few podcasts besides with me, don't you?
Just more, one or two. So yeah, like Jesse said, Next Up Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where Jesse's on there with other special guest companions. We have a lot of fun, and I hope you check us out there. Also, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, where, like Jesse said, we're finishing up Titan Season 2, about ready to kind of put that in the archive until Doom Patrol Season 2 arrives. But we're having a lot of fun, and like next week we're going to be talking Nightwing, so that's got to be a big topic. So everybody, please check us out on Titan Talk. And then Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., etc. And my blog, Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where talk about all the stuff on my podcast for Southgate Media Group, and also kinds of comic book sci-fi news, and posted the breakdown of the new Doctor Who trailer yesterday. So, which obviously we're going to talk about Next Stop Everywhere. So please check out my blog, Damn Good Coffee and Hot. We definitely appreciate it. All right. So next time in the Phantom Zone podcast for episode 170, getting up there, we're going to talk This Extraordinary Being, which has a very ominous title and a vaguely sounds of Dr. Manhattan.
Yes, it does.
So this is the 6th episode of Watchmen as we hit the 2/3 mark in the story, and that's going to be airing tonight as we're recording this. So we'll be talking about that later this week. So just come on back in a few days for This Extraordinary Being. Jesse, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, like you said, this is a good one. They are pulling out all the stops. I hope we get a second season, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself right now. I'm just enjoying this one. I think that they are doing the source material proud, and this is a damn fine TV show.
Yes, it is. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Phantom Zone. We love having you guys listen to us. Please drop us a line. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you next time for episode 170, This Extraordinary Being, right here on the Phantom Zone podcast. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.